here. Well, welcome everyone to the Trinity Alps Chamber Music Festival's digital concert here on April 30th. This is, gosh, I don't know, our 25th or 28th or 39th concert that we've done on Zoom. I've lost count, but in any case, I've so enjoyed this as a way of keeping in touch with all of our music fans and as a way to give performing artists like the ones you'll hear tonight another chance to really reach out and share music with people, because that is the reason why we do music, is to share it. It's one thing to stay at home and practice and enjoy music for yourself, but it doesn't quite give you that fulfilling feeling like sharing it does. So the theme of today's program is going to be music of the springtime. I mentioned earlier how hopeful we all are with the impending return of somewhat normal life and how exciting a time it is. So with this theme of renewal and rebirth and springtime, today we are welcoming the Sierra String Quartet. The Sierra Quartet is local to California, and they feature our beloved cellist James Jaffe, who we've all heard many times. Also in the quartet are Christina Simpson, Rochelle Nguyen, and Elbert Tsai. And they will each be introducing themselves as we go through the program. And the plan for the music is actually a kind of an additive process. So we'll start by hearing from each one of the quartet, each of their instruments with a different work, and then at the end we will put them all together. As usual, if anyone has questions or comments for the group, save them, hang on to them, because at the end we will have a live discussion, a little Q&A time for us all. So first on today's program, I would like to introduce you to my friend Rochelle. Rochelle, you are on. Would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about what we're going to hear today?
Yeah, thanks, Ian. Hi, everyone. Where is everyone? That one, okay. Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. My name is Rochelle Nguyen, and I'm the second violinist in the Sierra Quartet. I grew up in the Bay Area, but I spent a few formative years of my life in the Pacific Northwest. So it holds a very special place in my heart. And so when we decided to put on a concert about springtime, I thought, I'd love to play something by Kenji Bunch, who's from Portland, Oregon, because it's just so beautiful there this time of year, of spring. This piece by Kenji Bunch is for solo violin. Actually, I think it's originally for solo viola. He's a violist and composer. But it's for scordatura violin, meaning the violin is tuned differently from normal. So I've actually tuned my top two strings down, and that gives the music a kind of folksy Americana sound. And when I play this piece, I can't help but imagine the beauty of the Pacific Northwest, the clean air and the impressive mountains and forests and the ocean. And so I encourage you to imagine any beautiful nature. Perhaps you are from the Pacific Northwest or have been there before. I have a lot of dear friends who I met there, and I play this piece for them. This piece is called Until Next Time.
Bravo, Rochelle. Wonderful, wonderful job. All right, I'm going to put it back on the computer here. That was just amazing. Wonderful performance. I mean, you know, Rochelle mentioned how it reminded her of, you know, the Pacific Northwest. Kenji Bunch is a composer who lives in Portland. And one of the things that really struck me is, you know, all of the times, Rochelle, what do you call it when you're shifting between those, what are they? Are they like tremolos? That reminded me of just the sound of wind in the trees. I mean, it's just really a beautiful sound, beautiful atmosphere there. Well, great. Next up on the program, we introduce my friend and colleague, Elbert Tsai. Elbert, welcome. Do you mind just introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about what we're here from you today?
Okay, hi, my name is Elbert Tsai. I am the other violinist of the Sierra String Quartet, and I play chamber music and teach at San Francisco Conservatory and I can't imagine doing anything else. So my piece is by the Belgian composer Tsai. He's a little bit of a unique composer. He's really like a violinist, kind of through and through. He was most famous as being a violinist and conductor in his day, about 100 years ago. He lived from the late 1800s to the early 20th century. And he wrote 6 sonatas unaccompanied for unaccompanied violin, and they are seen as like the worthy successor to Bach's sonatas and partitas, also 6 complete ones. Each of these sonatas was dedicated to a different violinist at the time. This one is to the Spanish virtuoso Manuel Quiroga.
Thank you so much, Elbert. I just want to remind our audience that if you want to know more about the Sierra Quartet or read their written program notes, you can visit sierraquartet.com if that's the sort of thing that appeals to you now. Otherwise, just flag that idea for later and enjoy the performance. All right, it looks like our friend Elbert is set up. I'm going to send it back to him. Wow. Bravo, Elbert. Wonderful job. I think violinists who choose to play the music of Yizai, they must do it for the pain. It's like just watching his hands get around that violin. Woof. I mean, goodness. Wonderful performance. I'm more familiar with some of Yizai's other sonatas. That one I have not actually heard before. It reminds me a little bit of Paganini or something. The way that he gets all over the instrument. Wonderful, wonderful. Well, next on today's program, we welcome our friend Christina Simpson. Christina has been a friend and a guest artist of the music festival for many years, and we are glad to see her again. Christina is playing the viola. And welcome, Christina. Do you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and what you're going to play?
Absolutely. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much to Ian for hosting us. And actually just came back down from Trinity yesterday. And I got to see how all the oaks were so beautiful, so in bloom. And a little bit about me, as Ian said, I'm a violist. And can you hear me better? Great. I'm a violist, a freelance violist back when the world was open. And the past year, I've actually been teaching English at a public school, which has been really fun, but I'm glad to start performing again. Most recently, I collaborated with a poet and wrote a piece with a poet and played with a jazz ensemble. So it just feels like things are opening up. As I said, I saw the beautiful oaks up in Trinity County, and just being able to play this concert and to kind of capture that excitement is really delightful. And the piece I'm playing today, it's called Little Things by a living composer named Julie Barwick. She lives in San Francisco, and she describes this piece as having these sort of small little fluttering phrases, actually sort of similar to the sounds that Rochelle was making, that da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You'll hear a lot of those, and see my fingers. And there are also more lyrical phrases, so those kind of open up into these beautiful lyrical moments. And she sort of compares it to the sound of what she would imagine butterflies would sound like, and I saw quite a few of those when I was up in the mountains. So this is Little Things by Julie Barwick.
Thank you so much, Christy. That was just beautiful. I especially liked how just outside my window here, the little chickadees or whatever the birds are flittering around listening to the music. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. That was by Julie Barwick, who is a composer who is local to the Bay Area here. If anyone's interested, I do recommend you look up more music by Julie Barwick. Now, getting set up is the fourth member of our quartet, Mr. James Jaffe. James, I think, is someone many of you will recognize. He has performed with the festival for many years and was even on one of our digital concerts about a month ago. James, I would like to welcome you and ask you the same, if you would mind introducing yourself for the audience and a little bit about what you're going to play for us.
Sure. Thank you, Ian. I'm James. I play cello. I live here in San Francisco. And today I'm going to be bringing you a funny little third movement of the Sonata for Solo Cello by Aino Juhani Rautavaara. He's a Finnish composer and one of the leading Finnish composers really of his generation, and he only passed away just a couple years ago in 2016. This was a pandemic project for me, this piece. His music is so full of like landscapes, and you have to imagine it coming out of a part of the world where it's extra light for some hours during the summer and extra dark for other hours during the winter. And you know, it's really, if any of you is at all intrigued by this music, just please go listen and get to know it better. I also believe more cellists out there should be working on this piece, because I think on purely musical grounds it's just fantastic, and I think it deserves just the whole cello community to dive in and give their interpretations of it. All that said, this is a funny little movement, and it quotes Bach a couple of times, and it really comes in just at around 2 minutes. And though most of his music is so sort of serious and spacious, I think this is Rautavaara showing his funnier side. So I hope you enjoy the Allegretto from his solo cello sonata.
Thank you. Bravo, bravo, bravo. All right. Well, thank you all. I appreciate everyone unmuting for the applause. That is just, it's very heartwarming to fill my house with applause that way. It's this is our spiritual sustenance, you know, we musicians. So thank you for that. I'm going to vamp a little bit while my colleagues get set up for the quartet. Again, I want to remind you, if you want to know more about the Sierra Quartet, they have a beautiful website. They've been working on it. I am insanely jealous of their website. You know, I spend so much. What's that?
We'll make you one.
Oh, you'll make me one? Oh my gosh. Well, my website could use the help. So I do encourage you to check that out. It's just sierraquartet.com, right?
Yes.
I'm going to type it into the chat here just in case anyone wants to see their beautiful website. Like I said earlier, they also have their own program notes about today's program. So, I mean, you've heard them talk about the pieces they're doing, but if you want to read a little more in-depth of their thoughts and stuff, I encourage you to check that out. Also, if you're interested, keep any questions or comments you might have for the group until the end of the program. We always enjoy these kind of conversational natures with these programs. The final thing I'll remind everyone is that this concert, like all of the Trinity Alps concerts that we have done in the past 10 plus years, is an open concert. Everyone is invited to attend. However, I just ask that everyone considers a suggested donation of any amount. Any amount you decide that you would like to donate to the festival will help us keep musicians like this working and playing music and sharing music. It will also keep us keep the festival running so we can keep planning more programs so that we can look forward to our in-person events coming hopefully this summer and this fall. The easiest way to make a contribution is through the website trinityalpscmf.org. There is a little credit card donation thing right on the homepage, but if you want to make a charitable contribution, the way to do that would be through one of our fiscal sponsors. Just go to the website and then click on the donate link. Like I said, any amount is fine, and if today the amount has to be zero, we understand. I just ask that everyone take a moment and think about it because, you know, this is the way that our music festival has survived through all these years. It's through the generosity of people like you. So it looks like our quartet is just about ready. Oh, except she gave me the sign that says to keep going. Thanks, Christy. This has been such an experience for me, you know, sort of reorganizing my living room and getting everything ready for not just a group of people to be in. Whoa, it's crazy to have people in my house again, you know. But also to be doing music here and also to have all of this technology and all these cables and cameras and microphones and everything. It's just been pretty exciting. It looks like one element of technology is not being cooperative, so we'll get that figured out soon enough. I should mention in June of this year, which is what, less than 2 months away. We are planning to return with a live ensemble to Trinity County. We have not yet figured out where we are going to perform, but I know I want to have live in-person concerts, whether they will be outdoors or indoors or live streamed like this, or probably some combination of all of those. I haven't quite scheduled it yet. If anyone has ideas for us about where you think we could be doing live music around Trinity County and Humboldt County and Shasta County in the month of June, I would love it if you would let me know. You can reach out to me with an email. You can find my phone number through the website and call me. I would love to discuss, how we can start doing live in-person events again. This June, we will have a special program featuring a string quartet, featuring our friend Philip Brzezina. Philip is a longtime violinist with the festival. He has lived in Mexico for the last month or so, or more than that, the last year or so. But he's just returning from Mexico to get back into the musical scene here in California. Phil and a group of musicians are going to be leading Dvorak's great piano quintet, which I am looking forward to playing. It is not a quintet for 5 pianos. You might think that, when you hear piano quintet. It is a quintet for strings and piano. So we'll have a string quartet, much like what we're hearing today, but I'll be backing them up on the piano for our June programs. So that is that's what we have to look forward to. After our June programs, I'm hoping that we will also schedule some later in the summer, and maybe even something in September. You know what? Live music is coming. We're all ready for it, and I'm going to make sure that we make up for lost time. So I hope you're all looking forward to that. It looks like our group is just about ready to begin. I am going to once again turn it over to the group and ask if you all would tell us a little bit about what we're going to hear.
Thanks, Ian. Thank you all for coming back to hear the whole quartet. We're going to play 2 movements from Mozart's String Quartet number 14 in G major. It's nicknamed Spring, which we all just learned very recently, and at the same time we were planning a spring concert. So we're playing the Andante Cantabile and the Allegro Fugue. So 2 movements from Mozart's G major string quartet. Oh, can I actually do it again?
The Andante, and now for the fugue.
Just kidding. Oh, wow. Jaffe, Jaffe. Bravo, bravo.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that is amazing. Wonderful job, you all.
Yeah. And we have one more piece on the program today. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Our last piece is called Strum by Jessie Montgomery. It's called Strum because we do a lot of pizzicato. You'll see a lot of that throughout the piece. Jessie Montgomery, her music is a lot of different, she combines a lot of different things in her music, classical with different genres. This piece in particular she describes as combining classical music and motion and dance. And it actually came from improvisation sessions with her string quartet at the time. So it'll sound very spontaneous and fun, we hope. And we had a lot of fun putting it together, that's for sure. It's called Strum by Jessie Montgomery.
Wow.
Marvelous, marvelous.
Wow, bravo everyone, bravo.
Bravo.
Bravo,
bravo. Incredible.
I see, James, you were playing so hard that you had trouble keeping your glasses on. That was amazing.
Yeah, you know what's funny? That happened in like another of our Quartet's online shows where I was playing a solo piece and I finished the last chord and my glasses like
They just went
flew
flying.
off also. So.
Oh, that's great. Let's see. Anything else, Rochelle, or from anyone? Anyone?
That was really fun. Thank you all so much for watching.
Hey, good. Well, we've come to the end of our musical selection, so I want to thank you all for being here. If anyone has questions or comments for our wonderful performers today, we love making these interactive experiences, so we would love for you to chime in with anything you've got. As long as we're in the same Zoom room,
Chat
right?
showing up here.
We can take advantage of it, right? Let's see. Would anyone like to chime in? Questions, comments, anything?
Yeah. Ian.
Is that Randall? Hello, Randall.
Yes. Hi. Wonderful quartet music. I want to ask you, as a quartet, are there certain composers that you gravitate to or feel like you're trying to specialize in, or in other words, is there a particular period of style of music that you tend to play more than others?
Yeah, what a great question. So that's kind of for the whole group. Do you have a philosophy behind your repertoire choice? Does any one of you want to take that question? Elbert, take it away.
Hi there, I'll take that question. So I would say, obviously we try to pick music that we find engaging, and that can be, any kind of music, but I think we try to specialize in maybe pieces that people don't know super well, but that we think are actually really cool and should be played more.
That's a good answer. And by the way, I think Mozart falls in that category. I mean, Mozart is super well known, but I also think he should be played more because it's just so wonderful. I mean, that quartet you did is just amazing. The way that the fugue, all that music is passed off from person to person, really great. James, do you have anything to add about the nature of your repertoire choices, new versus old, etc., etc.?
Yeah, well, I just feel kind of lucky and thankful that the classical music world is beginning to give credit where credit is due, with a lot of composers who during the 21st century and the 20th century have been writing just incredibly inventive music, and I think is coming to light now. And Jesse Montgomery wrote this piece in 2012, I believe. And it's just the product of like an incredible level, I would say, of musicianship and inspiration. And I think those are the things that if I think about like our discussions about, like Elbert mentioned the word engaging. Yeah, I think it's like that level of inspiration that would like most get us interested in playing a piece. Yeah.
Nice. So there's no easy answer to how you choose music, except that go for the good stuff, whether it's new or old, right? I see we have a question in the chat, specifically regarding the newest of the new music, that the end of that piece by Jesse Montgomery. Our friend Cherie Gantz in Reading says, how did you work out the bowings? For example, the end of the piece, when things are going crazy and you're all sort of tumbling on together, and then you have to play in unison together. How do you coordinate all that?
Yeah. Well, it feels like chaos sometimes, and then it kind of all comes together. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about this music is you can't really tell where the downbeat is or what the direction is until it coalesces. And I have to be perfectly honest, for a little bit I was just as confused as you, but I guess rehearsal and, figuring it out, it helps a lot.
Well, that's good. I mean, I didn't mean to imply that I was confused or that Cherie was confused. Cherie, do you want to add onto that at all?
Well, yes, 7 bars before the end, because I was following the score, and you played it so fast it was hard to follow. But anyway, there's a forte piano, and you went down, up, and I just wondered, was that Jesse Montgomery didn't write down up on that, but you just all usually all into the bowings together, or what?
Oh, that was going to be my next question. If you have disagreements within the group, who gets the last word?
That one we actually all agreed on, but some of us forgot, so I just reminded us. But that's eagle eyes, Sherry. Good job.
I'll say that's sort of a moment where, like, Jesse Montgomery did not write that bowing in, right? But then because it's marked forte piano with a big crescendo, your choice is either do a down bow and crescendo toward the tip, kind of uncomfortable. Try to get to the tip before that and do the forte piano up bow, also very uncomfortable. So you feel like the least uncomfortable option would be to do a really quick down bow on forte and then kind of crescendo with the up bow.
Which is a normal bowing, but did you have to discuss it, or you all just did it naturally?
Oh yeah.
Well, Sherry, if you want to go even one level deeper, there's and this is the beautiful thing about quartet. Not only do you come across great ideas, but then you update those great ideas. So a while ago, I had a coach tell me it's not like an orchestra. For anybody not following this entire discussion, we're talking up bows and down bows. Down bows where you're pulling, up bows where you're pushing the bow. Sherry's asking us about our choices, about when to use which. So anyway, I had this wisdom of, okay, well, an orchestra, when you're trying to change over a long note, change at any time. I had a quartet coach once say, don't do that in quartet. You're gonna make extra rhythmic events. You're better, by changing the bow anyway. You should just decide to commit. Okay, we're making a bow change. So then I said, okay, well, guys, why don't we change halfway through? Why don't we change on the second bar? But I think I was the one who ended up changing my mind on that because I don't think it sounded as good. I think the quick down bow on the forte, followed by having your whole up bow to do the piano, I think, to the four of us ended up sounding the best. But that also goes to the quartet process, which is like you kind of do have to let the best musical idea win out, and it's not necessarily like a personal ownership of ideas that wins the day.
Well, what a great question, and I love how it gets into all these questions about how do people work together. Musicians are really, we are on the forefront of collaboration. If anyone has questions about co-working environments, boy, talk to a chamber music ensemble. I see we have a question from our beloved friend Alden Jenks. Hi, Alden. I see you're here. You're going to have to unmute yourself. I'd like you to chime in if yourself. Alden, by the way, is a wonderful composer himself. He lives here in the Bay Area. Hi, Alden.
Hi, everybody. I was particularly interested to listen tonight because I've been studying that quartet by Mozart for decades, actually, and I'm now actually putting together some videos analyzing that piece. But the movement I just didn't get was the slow movement, and now I get it. Thank you so much. It just came across. And the last movement is such interesting piece because it has that fugue part, and then it has that giggly stuff that those scales that break into the fugue. And I love that there's a kind of argument, or I don't know, a game going on between that kind of serious fugue stuff and then the 16th notes. And I thought you brought out the fun part of it in a wonderful way. And other performances I've heard mostly on YouTube are a little bit more solemn. And then they play the 16th notes, but it's kind of like that secondary. But you made it primary. That was very interesting. So thank you very much, and you play very, very well.
Hey, thank you, Alden. What a wonderful comment. Any follow-ups from you guys on the Mozart quartet?
Well, I want to know what finally made sense to him today.
Yeah, well, I would add sort of that it took me a long time to actually understand why Mozart was considered such a genius. That I think his music has so many more layers in it than it appears. And same thing, I think when you hear just kind of hundreds of performances, a lot of them don't necessarily make it super obvious, to me, why he's like maybe the greatest genius of all time. So, and I would say for myself, it was actually listening to his operas more that kind of helped introducing me to how many colors and textures and and to just what a genius he is. Like when you're playing in an orchestra, you feel like you couldn't change one single note in the entire orchestra to make it any better. But a lot of these manuscripts have no edits in them. Like he just sort of wrote out the music and it came out like really quite amazingly the first time.
Yeah, the first draft was the final draft. How many of us could say that? Wow.
I'm not Beethoven.
I agree with you, Elbert. I think, Mozart's music is so direct that we often, we somehow we associate complicated things with things that are artistically rich. And, Mozart is so direct and simple at times that it's easy to miss that there is a kind of an incredible richness to that as well. Christy, did you want to add something?
Yeah, just something as I was playing today, which was just this feeling of kind of gratefulness and being inside the music and shaping it as we had kind of planned out, but also it felt really spontaneous in the moment. And I think there's something so, there was just something kind of delightful about that. And I think kind of captures maybe what he felt, because he was such a genius and he could sort of spontaneously, based on years of study, but make these beautiful things. And I think that that feeling, at least I felt it. So I really, actually, James had a question too about what about the first movement made sense, or the performance. Is that it? Okay. We're curious about that.
Alden, do you want to enlighten us as to your particular revelation today?
Well, we were talking about the last movement and the combination of the serious fugal and then those giggly 16th notes. There's two things going on in the slow movement that I didn't understand until tonight, which is there's a virtuoso thing going on, especially for the first violin.
For Elbert, he was all over the violin. Yeah,
and so I was. I mistakenly looked upon the entire movement as a kind of virtuoso display piece, but the gorgeousness and the sweet sentiment of it is going on at the same time, and how he blends those two. They're not even opposed as they are in the last movement. They're blended, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Yeah, what a nice. I think you hit the nail on the head there. Thank you for sharing that. And that kind of brings us to a question from our friend Margaret Augustine. Margaret says, this is not a technical question, but how do quartets come together, and how do four different people decide to become an ensemble together? And I guess we could personalize that and say, how did the four of you come together as the Sierra Quartet? Anyone?
I'm actually the relative outsider in the group. So like these other three, they knew each other as kids, in high school. And I think, they weren't necessarily in touch the whole time, but I think after everyone sort of moved back to the Bay Area, after schooling and everything, I think the three of them sort of reconnected. And I would say how a quartet forms is it's a lot like a personal relationship. Sometimes you meet someone and you just like them. And then you just want to hang out with that person more, right? And then after that, it can turn into anything. You can maybe kind of date for a while, but then it doesn't work out, or you can really grow something and you feel like you have something shared in common. And I think that's kind of essentially how we got started. We just kind of read together and we just sort of liked it, and then we performed together more and we kept liking it. So here we are.
Well, that's a great answer. The natural gravity of human interaction. I like it.
Oh, and how we got our name. So we, for a while we were just like a group that just played together. And people would ask us if we had a name, but we didn't. And then, so I'd been teaching at this place in Three Rivers, California. It's a small town outside Sequoia National Park. And I'd been going there for about probably 9 years at the time, or 10 years almost at the time. And we went there to perform, and kind of being in the Sierra Mountains, we sort of organized basically a music retreat, kind of we stayed there for maybe a week or so, and we just rehearsed all day and put on a concert at the end, and that was just kind of a seminal moment for us. So we decided to name ourselves after that time we had in Sierras.
Well, that's great, and I think fans of the Trinity Alps Festival recognize that. That's kind of that is the bedrock of how the Trinity Alps Festival works, is the retreat experience in a beautiful wilderness location. In our case, the Trinity Alps in Trinity County, and in your case, the Sierras. So the the two great wilderness areas of California come together in this concert of string quartet music. What a great triumph. We have our friend Cherie logged off, it looks like. She said, loved every note. Thank you for a wonderful concert. Sherry is a wonderful violinist herself, so that is always nice. Our friend Karina Epperlein says, stunning playing. Bravo. Thank you all. Thank you for chiming in. Would anyone else like to chime in? Questions or comments for any of the performers, or for me, heck. I see our friend Michael Kogan is here. Hello, Michael.
Hi, it was wonderful. I just wanted to be here for the final applaud.
Okay, that's Louisa. Sorry I introduced you as Michael. Hi, Louisa.
That's okay. He just stepped out in the other room, but he was here the whole time.
Well, I'm so glad you were here, and thank you for the applause.
It was fabulous. Thank you, guys.
Our friend Russell Ward is over in Oakland. Hi, Russell.
Hi, Ian and James. Lovely to see you all again. My question is around the, and you were here in our very room 3 years ago to the day yesterday. I'm happy that you and Ian were here. That was a lovely concert. And my question for tonight and seeing this beautiful quartet is regarding, it was coming out to me, you know, how beautifully you were playing together, and regarding rehearsals to, you know, the moment of performance and the differences, I suppose. You know, how does it change? Like when you rehearse and play together and you have a particular range of emotions, and when you perform, does the music change? Do your emotions change? And is there a difference when that performance is over the screens that we're all watching tonight? Does that change your emotional response to the music?
That is a fantastic question with just wonderful layers. James?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for tuning in, Russell. I remember fondly that concert sort of sitting in like a connecting doorway, so that Ian was in one room with the piano, and you could kind of hear the concert from either room.
That's right, in Russell's Victorian in downtown Oakland, right.
I'm really glad that you brought up rehearsal, because I think, you know, when somebody asked Elbert how we came together, and then I was like, oh boy, I can't take this one because there's too many ways to tell that story. But I think one of the things about us as a group is that we like to rehearse. And I think, I don't know, maybe, I think we would actually rehearse even if there was no concert planned. Because I think that's our way of kind of like, first of all, just hanging out as people, but then also like taking a deep dive into the music itself. And so, you know, I think one of the things that after that first, if you want to call it our first date, but after our first time reading together, you know, and Elbert was kind of asking us, do you want to rehearse? And I think a lot of us were coming out of very thrown together chamber music experiences. And so then when you're talking about it, the rehearsal is a little bit different. It's so functional. It's very like, okay, we have to be together here, we have to be here. You end up putting things together very quickly, but you know, not with sort of like the benefit of a long period of shared understanding, which is built up in rehearsal. And so then it's kind of also, to your other question, at least to me, it feels different, yes, performing, and yet, you know, the flip side of that is, I think as we perform, we have some sort of built up thing that's been going on in the group, both just the group itself and then also our relationship, like with the specific piece of music we're playing. And that what it does at its best is it creates room for in the moment of performance, like Christy was just saying, like to be able to feel different or let something come out differently in the moment. But to be able to do that without that sense that you might have in a more thrown together music situation, in which taking too many liberties or getting too much in the moment might actually create more, like chaos or danger of falling apart or things like that. So, yeah, Albert's gonna add on.
So, yeah, I sort of would like to add a couple things that, I think for me, I would say performance is always totally different than practice. And I actually saw a quote from Branford Marsalis. He had recently just played a concert, I think just this week, and apparently it had not gone the way he wished it had. And he said his first tweet was, if you play your first concert in a year, make sure it's not recorded and definitely not video. And people are saying, oh my God, what happened? And blah, blah, blah. And he was just saying that he felt so different and he felt out of sorts. And his favorite line that I really liked was that practicing ain't playing and there's no way around it. And for me, it always holds true that I could be demonstrating for like a 10-year-old student. I'm probably going to get a little nervous, so just the fact that somebody's there listening to me makes it feel different. And it's both great and sometimes feels bad because sometimes like you spend all this time organizing what you want to do and then you might not feel the same way when you're playing for someone, right? So, and you want it to, right? But then I think the exhilaration and the deep feeling of sharing something with someone else is like the positive side of it, So then again, it comes down to kind of like more training and how can you get your brain and your feelings to kind of like align so that you can sort of harness that energy instead of like be afraid of it, And for me, I'm finding that actually when I play on Zoom, there is not much difference actually. Like if I'm playing for 100 or 1,000 people in person, I feel this like rush, and then knowing that you guys were there on the other side of these cameras and these mics also gave me that same rush, And there was for me almost no difference.
Well, that's good. The juju is still good then, even over Zoom, even through the computer. And I think I would agree with you there. I mean, there is a certain kind of thing that happens when you have to do a new kind of performance. The first time you probably ever played for your computer with the audience entirely online, there's an alien feeling to it, and that's not a good feeling. But that's kind of separate from the music. And our job is really to just dive into the music. And once you do that, I think that's I don't know. For me, that's like our safe space. It's like when I'm in the music and I know what to do. When I'm dealing with computers and cables and microphones and stuff, I don't always know what to do. But we're getting better, right, guys? Wow, wonderful. Thank you, Russell. That was just a wonderful way to tap into, everything it is we're doing here and everything we have been doing this past year. Does anyone else want to chime in? I see our friend Peter Taines is here. Hi, Peter. You'll have to unmute yourself, my friend.
Sorry. Okay, so I just wanted to say how impressed I was with the music, all the pieces. The Mozart was incredible. The Jesse Montgomery piece was so good. I love the little things. It was just all so wonderful. And the way you coordinated together I was so impressed with how you kept them, so tight together and played off each other. It was pretty amazing to see. So
nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. What a wonderful comment. Let's see. I suppose it is about time that we started wrapping up. I want to thank you all, our audience who has stuck around and has contributed to the discussion, and of course who has supported the artists by being here and applauding and enjoying the music. I want to thank all of you. If you haven't yet, please consider going on the website and making a contribution. That helps us make sure all these musicians keep getting paid on a regular basis, everyone who performs on our series. If you haven't yet joined our email list, do so on the website. You will get all of the updates about future digital concerts and about the return of in-person events all around California. I think I'll probably send out a follow-up email with a recording. If you want to share this with any of your friends who missed tonight's program, you can send them the recording, and hopefully they will enjoy it just as much. Maybe they'll watch it several times. Hey, watch it every night for the next week. Whatever. The last thing I would like to do is to ask all of you, our beloved audience, to please take a moment and unmute yourselves and applaud for our special guests tonight, the Sierra Quartet. Thank you.
Bravi, bravi, bravi.
Bravo, bravo,
Wonderful.
Bravo.
bravo, bravo.
Okay.
Hey, thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Everyone, stay healthy, stay well. We will see you next time.
Hello.